Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into our podcast. And how I would start this. This is such a beautiful, as we say, not accidental meeting, right? We met a week ago.
Yes,
We both moved to Redcliffe in Queensland.
yes.
And it's funny because I asked for some connections. I think it was Facebook page or something. And I asked for some connections and I got like 70 messages back, or I don't know, 60 comments back. And I still didn't actually meet anyone else, only you. It's funny. Guys,
I feel very honored. Thank
I would like
you.
to say there was something. Maybe it was, like the way you sent me a message, you talked to me, and it was really nice. And I loved what you do. And I also loved that like you're new here, and I was like, okay, great, let's try to meet up. And we met last week, and it was really great conversation. And that's why I decided it will be really nice if I can invite you to my podcast and you can share a little bit from a little bit different angle, different area of coaching or helping people, different modalities, because we don't do really similar work, even though we're helping probably similar way, but it's really, really different modalities that you use. And I love that because you're looking for energy, you're looking for a real humanity consciousness. And yeah, I just can't wait to go deeper into that. That means welcome here, Medyhne. I will have it correct one day.
That's
And
perfect, Medyhne, perfect.
yeah, and I would love you to, yeah, I would love to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us something about you. So I'm sure you are much better in that than I, because I met you only a few weeks ago. That means it was really nice to hear from you.
Well, I would like to just add to the fact that, when we met, there was an amazing synchronicity with that because, when you're meant to meet someone, there's often amazing synchronicities around it, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I before we met, I went for a sort of a wander in the morning in another part of this place where we're living, but it wasn't in Redcliffe, it was another suburb or and
Really point. Yeah.
because you're in Redcliffe and I'm sort of Redcliffe. And so this other suburb I was walking in, I was just walking along and I saw this lady sitting on the beach meditating. And I got the really strong message, that's Alex. And I thought, oh, don't be silly, Medyhne. They're surely not. Because I didn't really know exactly how you were going to look. And so I had an impulse to go up and say, oh, hello, is your name Alex? And I thought, oh, well, I didn't want to interrupt you meditating and things. And I didn't really sort of think perhaps it was appropriate. So I just kept walking, but I did think that really clearly. And this was a totally other part of where we live and where we were going to meet. And so when we did meet, you said to me, oh, this morning I was meditating. I said, was that you sitting at this place, Woody Point, and on the beach meditating? And you said yes. And so my impulse was correct, that we actually connected before we actually connected.
Absolutely. And honestly, I felt somebody's kind of walking behind. I felt that. And it was very strange because it kind of like interrupted my meditation, but didn't. Like I felt it, but I was like, no, I'm just staying here in this peace. It was so beautiful. But it was this such a strong need to open my eyes and look around. It was
Yes,
so
yes.
funny.
Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing? That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I think clearly we're meant to connect, and I'm so glad that you answered my email, or my message among all the other ones, because you got an amazing response. But anyway, so talking about me and what I do, I really guess I'm just someone who is supporting the evolution of humanity in my own humble way that I can. I have been very much participating in the last few years, really activated to do everything that I can in a whole range of different areas to support the soul growth of individuals and the collective. And I've done many, many different things. I set up a group called Guardians of Sovereignty to inform people about what was happening when the whole COVID business began. and
Yep.
and uh, business being the operative word. And then I really wanted to support, I guess, communicating to people at a larger level about what I felt was happening in the world, and the truth, and also, you know, from a spiritual perspective. And I know there's different versions of truth, but this was a truth that I was very much guided to share, which was that, you know, there was an agenda behind everything that was happening, and that there was also, I felt, energy coming from a section of humanity that were striving to rise above the darkness that was on the planet, and to help in the evolution. So, you know, there was the negative, I guess you could call the negative side of what this agenda was by the elitists, or the, you know, cabal, or whatever you want to call it. And then there was the positive side of things, which was humanity coming together and unifying to overcome the corruption and the power play that was happening over humanity. So I guess that's been a major goal. And so therefore I called my channel, which I started quite a few years ago, Arise Humanity, to support that process. And in the midst of all that, for many, many years, I've been doing energy healing work, working with clients, working with the collective, like groups of people, online workshops, things like that. I actually have some really exciting things happening this year, which I can talk about later. But I guess also working on my own evolution was very much part of that, because it is challenging, of course, to work with other people and support them on their path if you haven't done work on yourself. So for 30 years, I've been very committed to my own growth. You know, still got, obviously, you know, we've all got plenty to do still. You know, it's an ongoing process. That's right. But I guess that's what makes life interesting too, because, you know, if you already knew everything, it would be boring, wouldn't it? But you know, so it's a very much a myriad of purposes and sort of reasons why I'm here on the planet. I'm also very creative, so I love to express myself creatively and support others, you know, to express themselves in creative ways. So I paint. I do painting commissions. I've recorded music. I've performed with musicians as a singer, and written books, and all these things, you know, on my website. And I also started a community thing called the Arise Humanity Patreon community, which is like a global community, because at the time I started it, people were feeling very isolated and disconnected because of all the, you know, lockdowns, particularly. I mean, gosh, I came originally from Melbourne, and, you know, that was the most locked down city in the world. And so I was striving to help people feel connected and supported. And that Patreon community is still going, and we have fortnightly community chat and a fortnightly planetary healing, as well as you know, beautiful meditations for ourselves, supporting the nurturing of ourselves. So all those things are happening. I've also been involved in the early stages of a documentary called The New Golden Age, which is talking to people in Australia predominantly who are making a big difference, and they're creating communities, and they're doing incredible things to really support humanity. Because I think when we focus on those things, you know, people can see, yeah, I could do that too, you know, and it supports other people to also, you know, do those things. So yeah, there's a lot, and there's more too. Well, that's pretty much most of it at this time. There's just, I just feel very activated. There's so many things that we can be doing to make a difference right now, and I feel very strongly that this is the moment for us all to really step into our full potential, our full power, and to utilize our gifts, and to no longer stay small. You know, in Australia, there is a very strong mentality or philosophy of people sort of hiding their light and hiding their true power so that they don't stand out too much
Absolutely.
and they don't get, targeted as like a tall poppy or something like this. And, I'm a little over all that. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going to do what I'm doing.
Yeah. I agree because the first of all, thank you so much for sharing because you're so talented and you have so many things going on. It's absolutely amazing to see that you can somehow fit 48 hours a day in today. Don't know how, but very, very impressive, very impressive. And yeah, look, I think it is actually something that I experience when you talk about, trying to fit in and being the fit in. And I lived 8 years in Perth and now I moved to Queensland. And it was always kind of my dream to go this way, like this direction in Australia. But it was interesting how it took me so many years to realize that from the moment when I actually came to Australia, I don't know why, but because maybe I didn't get a job first thing, I didn't start a business straight away. I felt a little bit lost. And I feel in that space when we feel lost and weaker and we feel a little bit down, we try to fit in because we want to find our way and we try to adjust ourselves and we think, oh my god, I'm not flexible enough, I'm the one that is the problem. That means we always judge ourselves as a problem. That means we try to see what other people do, we try to understand the culture, we try to understand behavior. But sometimes, like you're looking at that and something inside you, that was probably same with COVID, right? Like it's something inside you is telling you that's not right, that's not me.
Yes,
I,
because
I'm
you're dimming,
not
you're dimming
fitting
your
in.
light, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was so hard because like I love Australians and I love people here. I have so many beautiful friends, but I guess the sample of people I was meeting, it was so misaligned. It was very different, and it was very normal to go for drink every day. It was very normal to don't have a lot of hobbies or just it was very much not active culture, not
Sure.
helping each other. It was very fake and very and everyone else tried to fit in. That was funny thing. And you see how people are suffering inside and they're suppressing themselves. I mean, for us who probably can a little bit see that and feel that, it was heartbreaking.
I actually think that that is a very strong lesson that Australia teaches, which is that there is a really powerful cultural conditioning for people to all be sort of small and to be the same and to have like a sort of a bit of a narrow focus. If you love sport, you're doing great. If you're not
Yes.
focused on sport, forget about it. I actually wrote a poem about that in one of my books. um, and yeah, it seems to me that the lesson in that for people that have incarnated here and have struggled with that is to be able to overcome that suppression and to be able to shine in the midst of that. And that's a really strong lesson. And
That's
for me, it's not worrying about necessarily what other people think and just doing it anyway. And sometimes it means that you don't always connect with a large, group of people. I know when I was in school, I had some challenges because I was very different to a lot of the people in the school that I was in. And, it's hard when you're younger, but the great thing about growing and maturing is that you learn to love your own uniqueness in a way that's much harder when you're younger.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you actually like going to the age as well. And like when we go and we are younger, yes, we can suppress something because that's totally different pressure from the schoolmates. But when you think about when we just go back to that like people you meet and you try to be kind of ruled, and it's like you're bounded, like you have these massive boundaries around and with the feeling that everybody tries to fit in. You mentioned something and really just what came up to my mind was, but there's so much trauma there because there is so much suppression and there is so much energy that is going inside and it's like, oh, don't say this, because everybody will judge you. Don't do that because everybody will look at you like you are some weirdo. It's always something, right? And if we stop ourselves, but every time when we stop ourselves to express ourselves, it's actually holding inside in the nervous system as a trauma. And I like I experienced massive healing in that area. That is for me, it's like I feel it even when I'm talking about that. It's so much suppression and it's so much pressure in general that more you suppress, the more you will continue to live that way, more
Mhm.
harder it will be, or it will become to
Yes.
that. And
Yes, and you'll get those physical sort of adverse
oh,
reactions that can build up in your
absolutely.
body because you're not allowing it out. And I think part of the suppression as well is the suppression in Australia. And I'm not just you know, trying to be negative about Australia. It has a lot of really beautiful things about it. And, you know, I really do honor the country and the people in many ways. But the truth of the matter is that there is a very much suppression of the divine feminine. It's quite, there's quite a masculine sort of energy, and I think women have traditionally struggled to really express all aspects of their divine feminine in this country. And you know, I hope with this great awakening, which, you know, I see happening before me, that this shifts and changes and that women are free to express all aspects of themselves without feeling the masculine energy squashing that expression.
Absolutely love that you actually mentioned this, because I will say it's not actually a female problem. I think it's the men and women problem. It's
Mm.
actually both genders are actually suppressing feminine energy and they're going
Yes,
out there with masculine. And I can
yes,
see this every day in business. I can see this in
yes,
leadership, in executive roles. And
yes,
when we suppress the feminine and we go out only with masculine, first of all, we are not creative. We don't have any creativity to solve the problems. We
mm,
are very narrow, like you said, you know, it's very tunnel vision. It's
yes,
focused on strategies, analytical, and we use only one side of the brain. That means that
mm,
feminine energy has to be expressed. And I love that you mentioned that, because I see that as a major problem. Because
yes,
when we go as a women to CEO positions or a leadership position, we think we need to be just smart, like just intellectual. We need to fight with, you know, intellectual and strategies and logical. But that's not true, because we have actually gift and we have a little easier access to that feminine energy, and we still don't use it. And that energy, when we start to actually use it in leadership, that will take us to this massive, beautiful awakening, because that's so important. Yeah,
totally agree. Totally agree. Because holistically, you've got so many things at your disposal as a unified female. You know, you've got your heart energy, your compassion, you know, your emotional intelligence. You've got
absolutely.
so
And it's
many things that you can access. You know, and you know, the masculine is, the divine masculine is perfect, the divine feminine are perfect, and they complement one another, but it needs to all be in balance, and they need to be able to freely express the positive aspects of those things. And I do feel that this country has been a training ground for people who have incarnated here to really learn this lesson.
Yeah, I think a lot of people definitely learning the lesson, and it's there is one aspect of that that really makes me not sad or not worried, but it's something that I see a lot in that leadership positions. There is a lot of exhaustion and there's a lot of burnout just because of that leading with masculine energy only.
Yes.
And just to probably remind people that masculine and feminine doesn't mean that you will be more like a woman, or you know, you will be more like a man. It's analytical and creative, right? Like it's the
Mm.
combination of those. It's your intellect
Oh,
combination with
I'm sorry. Apologize about that. Sorry.
and
I
that's
should have
fine.
turned my phone off.
But that's all good. I didn't hear that. That's fine. And it's that analytical or intelligence, you know, combination with your gut feeling, you know, your intuition. And sometimes we know with feminine energy we can feel things and we know when they're coming, right? Like you saw me sitting on a bench, right? And you knew
Yes.
that's me, and you came to the meeting a few hours later and you're like, oh my gosh, I saw you there. That was you. And I was like, that's just so weird, right? But we somehow know, right? And that is power, because
It
that
is.
feminine energy can lead all actually masculine energy can lead into that enlightenment and that consciousness and connecting with the universe and conscious energy or consciousness itself. because
That is a brilliant point, because you're
yes,
connecting to the universal quantum field. For example, when women manifest, they can do it by just sitting still and meditating and going inward, and then creating the universe to fit around what they want, rather than in the male model, which is the old 3D model, which we're now stepping out of going around and trying to actively create, what they want to create in their business or whatever. That, like you say, is completely exhausting. There's only so much you can run around and do. But if you sit still and you visualize and you co-create in that quiet inner space what you want, it happens effortlessly and with ease. And that is the fifth dimensional energy that we're going into. And so we need to all start practicing that. And I'm finding, for me, it's becoming easier and easier to do that. Not perfect at it yet, but I do notice that it's getting easier with the download of high frequency energies, and the closer we're becoming to fifth dimension, the easier it is to live in that type of paradigm.
I love this conversation because something just popped up, and it's like, this is perfect. It really is so important, and I feel like everything important is actually said in these few minutes, right? And when you say that there's a way forward, it's interesting because, like, I'm in business for 20 years, and I had really great times, I had hard times, it was always like that. And it's interesting how the old things that even worked last year, because I was fully masculine. Like, I was basically intellectual, I'm very pragmatic, I was just using that part of me because I thought that's the way, to penetrate the world, right? With masculine energy,
And
it's
that's what we
faster,
thought. Yes, yes.
and it's great, and look, it works, until some stage, right? And I started to be exhausted. I felt like I'm losing my sight, I couldn't see, I was blurry, I was having fatigue and exhaustion, burnout, I don't know how you want to call it, and mixed with anxiety. And it was because I was basically using predominantly only masculine energy, and I was doing really well, but not well in my well-being. I was doing very well
Yes,
in
it
the business.
wasn't balanced.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
business was great, but at what cost? And I was thinking, I'm really not happy. I feel exhausted every time when I need to wake up and do work. I feel heavy, and it was really strange. It was influencing my days, and it's not nice. And at the same time, I was looking at that, and my pragmatism, and intellect is telling you, no, meditation doesn't work. Oh, visualization, it's not going to work. You wish to sit and just think about.
Maybe I just need to work harder. It's
Yeah,
not that masculine
exactly.
person. I need to do more.
And because it's internal fight, but that internal fight brings hard work into your meditation. That means now you have routine, you are disciplined because it's masculine energy to use for your meditation. That means I was meditating, running, I was visualizing, I was doing all different sorts of yoga and meditation, and oh my God, like my day was full, right? Even more full. I was doing even more, and it was making me even more tired. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is not the way. Give me a second.
Sure.
My dogs.
Oh.
And that time, I just kind of woke up and I was like, no, this is enough. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And it was
It's
interesting.
like a mouse on a wheel going round and
Yeah.
round and round.
It was so exhausting. And it's funny how, like, you start to learn, and for everyone who wants to start and still doesn't trust it, doesn't believe it, and still doubting, I can't do it, I don't have those gifts. I was the same. I was thinking the same way, but there was something that I found as a feeling, as a peace, when I was starting meditating. I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. Like, this feels so much better. Like, I can see it's going to happen, but I need to pause. And, those messages started coming to me. And I was like, oh, well, everybody has this power. If I can do it, everybody can do it. And
Yes.
now, before I do anything, I actually, like you saw me meditating, I have to meditate because I need to put my energy together. I have to calm my mind, and I want to connect. I want to be connected with the world. That means, for me, that's so important. And honestly, I do 60% less, and I have so much better results. I have amazing business, and it's thriving, and people are meeting, are loving, everything is effortless. You say that, you say the word, and it's exactly feeling the same way. And it's almost like why I didn't knew this before, but why I didn't know that you can actually just really stop and think about stuff and it will happen. Okay, I'm now over exaggerating, right? But you know what I mean?
I do, I do. It's like the energies are also really conducive to that at the moment, because it's like we're being encouraged to wake up in the morning and say, well, reading the energy of the day and saying what is in alignment with the energy for me and my energy and for this day today and for the energy of this day. It's a very different concept to how we've traditionally, normally, as a business person, you've got the week all lined up with all your scheduling and your meeting, and it's all organized, and but this is a very different model. So it's a model based on the energy and the flow of the moment within that day and in your own energy too, because it shifts so much. There's so much going on astrologically, cosmically, metaphysically, that's changing us and shifting us. And we're integrating a lot of DNA shifting with the
Yeah.
high frequency energy that's being downloaded to us. We're receiving in light encodings, and sometimes when we're integrating those, it can be really exhausting. I know sometimes I do get really exhausted because I know I can feel my cells like shaking and recalibrating as they're integrating new energy. So you got to listen to your body and listen to your energy, and also the energy of that time. It might be a full moon, or it might be a new moon or something like this, and that's going to really shift your energy as well. So it's going to really be a different way of existing in the world, I think,
Mhm.
that we're going toward.
Yeah, and I love that that awareness about what do you feel like, how you, because every day feels different. You're right. And when we
Mhm.
are in that busy mode, when we are in a busy mode, we don't have time to tune into our energy and feeling, and we don't
Yes.
feel our body. And
Mm.
that's what I realized. I was not feeling my body. Like so many years, I was just on autopilot, when we call it that way.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful to start to understand even your moods, your emotions, and everything what is happening with moon as an example. Right, we are really influenced by moon a lot, and I can feel it now more and more when I'm actually really focusing and understanding. And when I see, this full moon coming, as like I know why I feel this way. I feel very tired, for example, but
Mm.
also I have disrupted sleep. That means I know I will have probably 2 days, very tough during that period of time. But it's
Yes.
really good to see or feel it or prepare yourself for that, because
Mm.
that's real. The energy is still there. Energy is changing. It's not disappearing. That means we are exchanging energy with nature. That means that moon, when it's impacting us, we can actually adjust what we will do that day. And
True,
so
true.
important.
Listening. It's listening to your body,
Yeah.
and your emotions, and your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. And that's key, to go inward and have that inner communication or dialogue, so you know what's happening. And we're always refining this. I have a continual, what's the word, challenge to really give enough energy and balance to my physical body when I've got so many things that I can do. I do 2 walks every day with my partner and my pooch. And I try and swim in the ocean, although I must say at the moment it's gone, for some reason it's a little bit brown. I don't know, it must be all the flooding or something, but I don't know if it's good to swim in at the minute. But anyway, so just having different things that you do that are honoring the different parts of yourself, and so that there's like a balance with
Yeah.
everything in your life that's going on. I think that's important. And there is a lot of resting required at the moment as we go through this huge earth transition and transition of humanity that we've never experienced before in this way, as we venture into these new dimensional realms.
Yeah, I love that. I would love to talk to you so many hours about this, because there's probably so many things that I want to know. But you're very how to say, advanced in all that, energy. You know a lot about how the humanity is going to evolve. Then it's probably I will ask you before we go. I notice, and I want to know if you notice as well, there's a lot of anxiety, right? Like there's a lot
Mm.
of that suppression and anxiety in the world.
Yeah.
I want to know if you see it, why do you think it's happening, and what do you think is kind of next step for humanity to, I know we touch base probably on a lot of different topics, but what is, in your opinion, kind of way out of that? Because that's not life, right? That's not really joyful life.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, I totally agree. You know, there is so much anxiety and energy of people bring it's what I how I see it is that there's a lot of shadow aspects of self that are coming right to the surface now, that in the past people have been able to push down and suppress, but you can't do that any longer. Anything that you haven't looked at or that you haven't addressed that's been hidden within yourself is coming up now to be seen. It's the same with all the darkness, you know, all the horrible, you know, I can't say the word, but traffic lights, you know, the word, but I won't say what it is because we might get censored, but, you know, all that sort of thing. It's really coming to the surface on the planet in the same way, because all the things that were dark and hidden and suppressed are now being pushed to the light.
Yeah.
And in the same way, individually, we're all feeling that. So I think that is one of the reasons why there's a lot of anxiety, because you might have been able to avoid or ignore these things within yourself before, but you can't do that any longer. And I think the lockdown, the positive aspect of the lockdown was that it encouraged people to be, you know, more present and to be able to go more within themselves when they had that time. And it really pushed people to do more on themselves and to become more sort of self-aware and also aware about what was happening in the world. So that's one aspect of it, I think. And I think that there are certain souls who are very good at being able to see this and navigate their way through it. But other people are finding it more challenging as they also become more aware of the darkness that has been in the world. And then how do they integrate that and process that and still be able to function as normal when they're realizing that the world they thought they lived in does not exist in the way they thought it did. And that's why the light workers and healers are so powerful at the moment, because we're also here to help support people through that process, because it's huge. So that's another aspect. And the other thing I think metaphysically is this is all divinely aligned. So souls have made a choice of where they want to be at this time, what they want to experience, how they want to see the world. And that choice is determining what happens with their soul, what direction their soul goes, and that sort of thing. So it's this moment now is the crux point for souls to sort of fully realize their own free will choices.
And it's funny because I had this free will in my mind, because I was thinking, yeah, of course, because basically we've been attacked. When you think about it, you know, when Seabird happened,
Yes.
it was basically, we were basically taken away our free will, our freedom, our free speech, everything. It was really, really hard, right? Because
Mm.
we were judged, we were weird when we were having different opinions, like majority of people. And I personally felt attacked by even like people that I knew for a long time. You know,
Yes.
it was absolutely sad. It was really hurting. And yeah, my question in my head was all the time like, why? Like how people can do this, right? Like that was my question, because
Yeah.
it was hard. It was really hard for a lot of
Yes.
people, and I believe for majority of people, because
Mm.
even people they wanted to have different opinion, they still had to kind of comply, and I think that was even harder. And I think that's why, because I feel like that's the pinpoint of that. Like we were really hurting for a long time, that
Yes,
period of time,
that's true. That's true.
and we need to heal that as well. Yeah.
When you were talking, then I was just thinking about also how the feeling of not fitting in that I've had all my whole life in terms of the people around me, because I've just had a different consciousness, it actually really served me well in the last few years, because I thought, oh, I'm good. This has happened to me before. I know how to not to fit in. I know how to think differently. So it actually served me. But, when I was growing up, I felt often at times quite alone and misunderstood and all those sorts of things. So the really difficult challenges that you're talking about, I also felt them in younger years, but that has led to me now having more resilience and strength, and sort of like oh, well, whatever, I don't care. If people don't get me, I don't care. That sort of attitude now, to be able to sort of stand up and say what I think is important. And, I had a channel on the Freedom Channel Broadcast Network for about, I don't know, 10 months. And it was quite a big platform. One show got about 34,000 views. And so, I was able to speak in that, as well as on my channel on YouTube, because it's like, well, I've always had a sense of having a bit of a different voice to everyone else anyway. So what the heck, why not use it now, And it's also becoming more sort of like collective opinion. The things that I've always thought, and now more and more people are thinking the same as what I have. So it's like, this is a wonderful feeling, because I'm finding my tribe now, like yourself, magnifying people into my sphere that are on the same resonance and that have the same belief systems, and that's really special, because for so many years I didn't have a lot of that.
Yeah, and I love that was the word that you mentioned, misunderstood. And I'm calling everyone who feels misunderstood, because that's very common, very, very common. And I find it very common theme in any area, if it's business leadership or, team or partnerships or even husband and wife. There is so much misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And I believe that's another part, right? Like, we think differently, we are different. That we need to
Yeah.
start to be more empathetic. We need to start to be more connected. We need to start to listen to each other different way, not judgmental way, but really truly listen and say, you know what, even if you have different opinion, I accept that. I like it. I actually like that I can talk to you and you have different opinion, because that's important. It will be so sad and dangerous if we have all same, opinions and we don't fight anything. That means I believe that even just that this conversation, if anyone feels that way, please contact, Medyhne or myself, because it is normal. I felt like that. You felt like that, right? We
Yes.
felt misunderstood. We felt like we can't express what we think. We can't express what we want. And it
Yes.
was kind of stuck in our neck, and in a throat. And it was like, we can't really language what we want to say, because everything what we say, it's just perceived the wrong way.
Oh,
And
I can tell you a story about that.
I have so many.
I've got so many. When I was younger, I grew up in a family that had, I loved them and everything, of course, but they had a different consciousness to me, and I wasn't really given permission to speak my truth. And so I had a lot of suppression in my throat chakra. And when I was about, oh gosh, 27, 28, I went to a healer who did a lot of work on my throat chakra. And I got my whole throat sort of shut down and my voice shut down for 3 months after he did the work on it, because it's like all that healing sort of crisis came up and I couldn't speak. There was no voice and I couldn't speak for 3 months. And I wore a turquoise necklace to help my throat chakra, and it was on me all the time. And then one day as I was walking down the street, it broke and just went everywhere. And it was around that time that my voice came back as well, and I could speak again. But I'd been so incredibly suppressed that I physically had the reaction that for 3 whole months after I had this big healing, there was no voice. I couldn't speak at all.
Yeah, I had massive hurting as well, like massive pain in that space. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I know
Yes.
it feels terrible, but
Yes.
it's interesting how all those suppressions that we talk about, all suppression of feminine energy, all suppression of, anxieties and fitting in and don't actually express your opinions and your message, and everything what you want to say, don't try to avoid conflicts, and all the conversation communication needs to be communicated.
Yes.
I see so many of that, and I really want to highlight that because I feel like that was really, really important message in our conversation. Just to really try to be transparent. Transparency is the new way of leading. Is so important in leadership. So important in your life, personal life, with your
Mm,
children,
yes.
with people, with team, with your colleagues. Is so important. So let's be transparent, and let's actually give each other feedback and talk openly.
Yes, yes. I love this conversation because it's flows so well with you. All these topics, it's so important, to chat
Yeah.
about these things. And I think that the greatest struggle that you've had in your life, so one of them for me was to being shut down and being able to express myself is actually my greatest gift, which is to be able to speak out and to be able to communicate and in a larger scale, to talk to groups of people, to talk to the collective in a way. And that was the opposite of how I felt when I was younger. And it was one of my greatest struggles. So that's often your greatest gift. So I think that's really important to know as well. And that also when you have been through that and then you've been able to overcome it, you can help other people that are
Yeah.
going through that thing, and then we can support one another so beautifully, in this unified field, when we realize that those are also our greatest gifts.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will probably just say thank you because I know we both have another schedule going on, but I would love to say thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing everything universal, because it is really universal language. Thank you for sharing your journey and everything what you do. And because you share that you have books, you have your websites, and I will share all links. That means anyone who wants to connect with Medyhne, I will definitely share all her links. That means you can find her on YouTube, you can find her on her website, or connect via channels she will give us the link to. But I would love to say you're a gift to a lot of people, and I believe your community and your work is really truly gift to humanity, because you have total pure intentions, and that's what I love about you, and that's what I learned in a few weeks time that I know you. And I love to be with people that have pure intentions, because it is for real help, and I think that's what we all need, because that's, to me, that intention is actually healing. Otherwise, I would love to see all your books, and also see how I can, or other people can support you and join you. That'll be so great to hear from you. And yeah, if you can share what is the best way to connect.
Well, thank you, Alex. That's really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
kind of you. I guess I've got my website, which is www.medyhne, medyhne.com. And so that's one way. Oh, obviously it's above me in the video. I just realized that. And the other thing is that this year I've got some amazing offerings that I'm launching for 2024, which will include working with humanitarian projects like supporting animal shelters and children and homeless people. There'll be different humanitarian projects we'll be supporting with our work. So I'm working with a lady from Brazil, an incredible lady called Sandra Fanti, and we're going to be offering very, very, very affordable healings, different types of healings, personal healings, business healings, pet healings, different things. And then you book them, and then a large percentage of some of that healing goes to these projects. So if people want to support that, and we can only make this work by people coming on board and being part of it, so I really encourage everyone to come on board with this. You can go to my website and find my Telegram link there to find out more. There will be a page that I will be publishing, I think it's tomorrow or the next day, which will have all the information on there. And there's a Telegram site called Creating a Better World, and that Telegram site, Creating a Better World, will have a lot of announcements and latest information about what we're releasing. But yeah, we're super excited about that, and just trying to create a sort of an energy that has momentum, that is supporting things that need, you know, support. And there are so many beautiful charities that we'd love to support. We're also looking for people to tell us, you know, what they think is important to support and to share with us that information. And we will look into that as well as we do more and more of these sessions and can support these charities more and more. So, you know, we do want that interaction from people to also tell us what they think is important. But we've got some amazing charities and humanitarian causes that we're following up now to be able to contribute to in 2024. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. And yeah, I will talk to you about that as well, because that was that's very funny, because I started kindly the project. But I will talk to you because that is very similar direction around that charitative work, and really try to help animals. That was earth, that was children, there are people. And I think that's a little bit of alignment. That means that would be really nice if you can chat about that as well. That would be
Oh,
awesome.
that's lovely. And I'm looking forward to, you know, us being able to develop our friendship here too in this part of the world. So that's really exciting too. And it's wonderful what you're doing too, Alex. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and your contribution. You know, it's a huge commitment to have a podcast, even as just one thing, let alone all the other work that you're doing. And it makes a big difference. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Medyhne. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.